Right, so flexibility training is the next one. Flexibility is the range of movement possible at a joint. Now, this is a tricky one, and it's not a tricky one. The reason it's a bit tricky is that we've kind of gone through the definitions in the previous part above this. So, one part of the definitions we did leave out is active stretching, which might be worth mentioning here when you're talking about warm-ups, possibly, is that active stretching, passive stretching is when you're using something to support yourself, so it could be a table, it could be that towel that I was talking about, it could be your arm like this. That is a passive stretch. If I let go and just try and push as far as I can, then that is active stretching. So that's one thing we did miss out on the previous bit, so you could mention it here. Another thing that I would talk about in this part here is about warm-ups and cool-downs. You need to show that you're understanding that within training regimes, warm-ups and cool-downs are an important part for safety, and you need to be building into that active stretching. You need to build in dynamic stretching, kick the door down, etc., and you need to build in some static stretching as well. You could also talk about how possibly athletes on match day plus 1 day after the event, they might go through a bit more flexibility work just to kind of help their muscles recover, get blood flow going again. And another way in which we can kind of attack this without just going rewriting the definitions is doing examples. I've got 2 examples on the board. One is for a gymnast who will obviously, sporting context there is possibly to create shapes on the floor for in a floor routine. It's quite obvious that she needs or he needs flexibility. And another good example is Ryan Giggs. Now, he's got this yoga DVD that we've actually done with some of the kids at school before, which is brilliant, and that actually gave him longevity in his career, meant that he was playing the Premier League to the age of 40 plus. So that's another way in which you might mention flexibility in the context of why it's beneficial for these athletes.